have to believe me. They're firebenders. They won't stop until they win the war.
Calm down. You're safe now.
Our economy would be ruined. Our peaceful way of life, our traditions would disappear.
There's no war in Ba Sing Se.
What are you talking about? Where do you think all the refugees come from? You can't hide it.
In silencing talk of conflict, Ba Sing Se remains a peaceful, orderly utopia. The last one on Earth.
There is no war within the walls. Here we are safe. Here we are free.
Folks, the time has come for another Hasan Piker video. We've arrived at another low point in his career. Asmongold hit him with that one-punch man martial arts and broke every bone in his reputation. I have a question for the moderates, the conservatives, and yes, even you, woke extremists, that can't stop fapping to Hasan Piker streams. Do you think anyone would care about Hasan's perspective if he was ugly? I know Taylor Lorenz would be lost if not for Hasan's steroid-enhanced body and transplanted hair. I wanted to highlight this simp because I think she really represents the intellectual depth of Hasan's audience.
The other thing with Hasan, he's unreasonably good looking and like cool and dresses cool.
Tell me about it.
But do you know what I mean? Like Hasan would be an influencer no matter what he was saying because he is
hot,
very attractive and very cool and genuinely a good person too, I will say.
What a shallow and surface level appraisal of an ally. However, what can she do except spout out these platitudes about his looks? You can't talk about his policies because they're all just lies or pro-Houthi sentiments. So this is what you get. A lonely post-menopausal Karen who is this close to shoving her hand down her pants on international TV. And that's all Taylor is. She's a biased reporter, a failed journalist, an absolutely unhinged gooner. Like all she does is stalk Hasan's streams and magically show up to all the riots. Sorry, totally not violent protests that he shows up at. If you're a journalist, your allegiance is to the truth. You fail when your articles are warped into hairballs, strung together by deceit and lies. Naturally, she's a failure on this front as well. Her obsession with Lord Piker of the Houthis is what compromises her journalistic integrity. She has a record for writing oodles of biased articles slandering those of opposing political ideologies and stances. It's probably why she and Hasan get along so well. Anti-social pieces of shit tend to gravitate towards each other. Here we have Hasan defending her, giving a little counterglaze because let's be real, she just ain't like all the other journalists.
The honest thing to do is reserve judgment, not to defend your stands. My stands. Any journalist could have written this article and my assessment would be the exact same. My stands? Taylor Lorenz is not my fucking stand. She's an adult, okay? Again, I don't want to be uncharitable to you, chatter, but it kind of feels like you're coming at this from an incredibly parasocial lens. It seems like you're actually arguing at the behest of some other parasocial ambition that you have to make it seem like this person is actually a bad journalist because they're a stan of mine or something. And it's not only objectively incorrect, but it feels like you're a little drama brain. I want to be as charitable as possible to you. Totally. You caught me. I mean, yeah, we're talking about the Democrat Party donors potentially trying to give independent liberal content creators contracts that are fairly rigid, that demand that they don't disclose their affiliations or their funding, and might even have some level of editorial control. And your argument is, my stan wrote this article and I shouldn't be defending it. I think you should stop being so childish.
What a load of horse shit. If it was anyone who could give even the slightest bit of criticism, he would be dragging their name through the mud, telling all kinds of lies and slander about them. The chatter was completely right, and the only shame is that he conceded on this point. I'm not sure if he did it because arguing with Hasan is just too exasperating or if he was just spineless, but it's fairly obvious to anyone with a brain that he is only saying all this because he's standing up for that simp of his. But I like how he phrases that. I'm trying to be as charitable as possible with you, but I'm going to undermine everything you just said and call you immature because I'm so much smarter than you. Yeah, I'll have to use that one sometime. Now, this is a bad habit found on the left. They tend to mix up their emotions as well as the facts, failing to really tell the difference between the two. Hasan seems to think that putting the word objectively in front of the word incorrect is all it takes to invalidate criticism. Because of course he does. And this comes out in the form of him and his cult coming to the conclusion that this is just a smear campaign against Taylor. Though I'm sure Hasan is quite familiar with what a real smear campaign looks like. Now let's move on from Lorenz. We need to talk about Hasan's toxic relationship with Sloptubers. People who really don't like Hasan Piker. So here's the thing. When you have people like Hasan, they're full of hate. So much so, they let themselves become out of touch and numb to kindness. Because they are only ever thinking of how to maintain a decaying narrative that is antithetical to logic. Every accusation is a confession. Self-awareness is a myth. You need people like Asmongold, More Pegasus, and Nuxtaku to keep these types of people humble. To keep Hasan humble. And that's a tall order. Narcissism is one hell of a mental disorder. It's a serious IQ debuff. The problem is that these freaks think they are the heroes. They LARP as harbingers of social reform. But they're really just insane. So it's not a bad thing. This is actually the happiest I've ever been listening to Hasan Piker's voice.
And I think initially I had like a lot more impact because people did not just come in here with like, you're a terrorist and I hate you and I think you should be type attitudes. And instead we're like, oh, this is a guy who's covering the news. And a lot of people learn the news from this guy, right? And I would say that it was much easier for me to do that kind of news coverage and commentary for a lot of people and pull them away from the far right, from the precipice of the far right, the allure that the far right had for a lot of young men back then, because there wasn't an entire fucking liberal, apolitical crop of content creators that were actively collaborating with like some of the worst far-right scumbags to undermine what I try to do.
Yeah, this right here. Just him admitting that Sloptubers are alienating humanity from his sick ideology. Of all the people to cast a moral judgment, who does Hasan think he is calling the far right, or whatever, scumbags, when he himself has called for the end of life of multiple politicians, including President Trump, just recently? As far as I can tell, the only scumbag here is you, Hasan. Now, as far as Hasan Piker being a terrorist goes, I don't believe he is. I don't think most people do. But that is not because Hasan's morals put him above the realm of depravity that is associated with terrorism. Absolutely not. Being a terrorist supporter, though. Yeah. Editor, play the clip. Editor? Oh, right. This is a one-man show. Guess I'll play the clip then.
Was wrong and took it back immediately when I learned the context. Do you know how that works?
Oh my God, there's a lot more. Do you want to keep going?
Have you
piece
ever?
by piece?
No, it's fucking boring.
Now it's boring.
Because because you're a chronic liar.
Well,
I went back.
Maybe I wasn't afraid of the context nuke, okay?
I went back.
Maybe I wasn't afraid of it, but I was worried that you were going to fucking clip shit out of context and keep chirping to your audience and lie to them. And now you can't lie to them. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, half of the fucking shit that we've talked about, you backtracked on. Maybe that's the reason why people think you're fucking pro-Israel at a time when you say that they're doing a genocide.
You said that the Houthi Luffy was not a pirate.
He's not.
Or I'm sorry, not Houthi affiliated.
He's not. But even if he was, I wouldn't care. I hope you understand that.
Because that's rewriting history.
I'm gonna say this very clearly.
No, it's not that you cared. It's that
I'm gonna say this very clearly to you right now. 10 toes down. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
I believe what the Houthis are doing in terms of stopping Israel doing a genocide, to implement a blockade on the Red Sea, is a good thing. 10 toes fucking down. They are on the morally right side. Don't you also think they're on the morally right
What have
side?
they
Ethan?
done?
You're supposed to.
Hold on.
You're saying that it's a genocide.
What have they done?
What the fuck are they supposed to do?
They hijacked a boat that had nothing to do with Israel? Like, fucking
That's
bravo.
not true. That's not true.
Really? What was that? What did it have to do with Israel?
It was literally owned by an Israeli.
It was partially
for the fucking
owned.
island.
Is a big multi-conglomerate company that was partially owned by an Israeli.
Yes.
It was
And
bound for fucking for Turkey
It doesn't
from
matter.
India.
What do you mean?
There was
What do
they
you think
kidnapped
BDS is,
5
dude? What do you think
totally
BDS stands for?
unrelated Filipino
You
fucking
also
prisoners
said
and
it wasn't
kept
owned by
them
an Israeli,
prisoners
by
for
the
a
way.
year.
You're fucking.
Seriously, I'm telling you, Hasan is an enemy of the United States of America. I believe this with every fiber of my soul and heart, and it's not just because of terrorism, healthcare, immigration, trade policy, or tariffs. If it's pro-America, it's anti-Hasan. As Americans, I do not understand why we let this anchor baby sleep on our soil. It's not his country. It's the country he was sent to sabotage. He was raised in Turkey, even sees it as his country.
My country, Turkey.
If anyone ever tells you that Hasan is American, including and especially Hasan himself, don't believe it for a second. Who the hell comes to a country that they obviously hate just so they can work against its best interest under the facade of criticism? Hasan, why don't you go to a pro-socialist country? You champion socialism, so why are you in a capitalist country? Like, practice what you preach. Time to redistribute the wealth, you filthy millionaire. And once again, he has to pick on a true American in the form of Asmongold. Notice how sorcerers of backhanded commentary used soft implication to slander innocent men of virtuous heart.
Yeah, of course Asmund is saying that they're leftists. The shooter fucking highlighted Anders Breivik like Asmongold has in the past. If anything, Asmongold is closer in their worldview to this fucking shooter than anybody else, okay? Of course he's going to say it's a leftist. Also, he's not very intelligent, so that's probably part of the reason why he immediately took whatever Fox News narrative he saw and went, yeah, based.
In saying that the shooter from that tragedy in Minneapolis is closest to Asmon in mindset, he's literally just saying that Asmongold is a school shooter without actually saying that he's a school shooter. And then he has to say he's not very intelligent, just a blatant insult. We all know Asmongold is more intelligent than Hasan Piker. That's just an objective fact.
It's not really easy to cover what happened in Indonesia tomorrow because the first guy who covered it internationally on Twitch is Asmold, and he already said some bullshit like it's that way because we're a Muslim country. Okay, listen to me. My country, Turkey, had instability, and I covered it. Okay, and of course, Asmongold is more visible, and Turks were yelling at me for not covering it when I had already covered it. Today is not. It's impossible for me to do it today. Okay. It's not a race. I understand the chatter's concern though, because yes, when he's fucking first to market, and is very visible and has a sizable audience, like people learn the wrong things because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So you're not wrong.
The delusion and arrogance of these people is just impalpable. The fact that anyone could ever be concerned about Hasan getting to his story first. If anything, I would be more concerned about Hasan getting to a story first. The guy who gives his 10 toes down support to child traffickers? Yeah, I'm grateful that Hasan isn't actually all that concerned about being the first person to get his hands on it. And who does he think he is to be the moral authority, or even just the authority on who learns the quote-unquote wrong things? Anyways, that's all I really got for you folks, for the time being. If you love America and don't really appreciate the way Hasan radicalizes the youth, then subscribe to the channel. If you hate America and you're one of those guys that's gonna try and convince me that Hasan is a national treasure, then subscribe to the channel anyways, because you obviously need therapy. Anyways, talk to you later.